What's going on, swim fans? In this video, I'm going to show you the difference between a 120 per 100 meter freestyle pace and a 2-minute pace. Then I'm going to break it down so you can learn from these different strokes and speeds so you can swim faster and smarter than ever before. This live stream is powered by underwater audio, but more on them in a little bit. Now, if you guys are new here, I'm Coach Ferris, and in the past, I've done videos where I've broken down my own freestyle technique at different speeds all the way down to sub-minute per 100 meters. And today, we're going to take a closer look more specifically and compare it to Nick's stroke, who's more of a beginner swimmer and swims closer to 2 minutes per 100 meter. So let me know in the comments and in the chat where you guys are joining me from and what your 100 meter best time is. For me, in a 50 meter pool, I can swim 100 meters in 57 seconds. But if I swim just a single 50 off the block, I can do it in 25 seconds. And if I swim just a 25, that comes down to 11 seconds. Now, of course, I'm going off the block, but that means my pace is about 45 seconds per 100 meters. Now, I know you're thinking, hold on, you just said you go 57 seconds in the 100. How are you going 45-second pace? The key word is pace. And today we're going to break down how you can maintain that pace for a longer period of time. Because the reality is, the longer you swim, the slower you're going to get. So let's try and fix that and maintain that speed. Starting with Nick right here. This is him in the push-off freestyle 25. He's going. Let's break down his stroke. This is his head position or body position. This is the line of the water. And this angle right here, that delta, is essentially the amount of resistance that he's creating below the surface of the water. So if you think about how much displacement there is underneath the water is 800 times more resistive than air. So you want to try and minimize your drag. And that's one of the key differences between a slower swimmer and a faster swimmer. Now, of course, it's not just your body position and your head position, because I can go ahead and clear this. Let's go back in time a few seconds in this clip, and we're going to play it again. Good streamline off the wall. Good body position right here, right? So he's got good body position. So where's the extra speed going to come from? Well, let me tell you, in swimming, there's only two ways to get faster. Number one, you can decrease drag, which we just talked about. So we want to decrease the amount of resistance right there. And the second way is by increasing propulsion. So that comes into what his hand is about to do right there. So if you guys are excited and you're pumped up to see what his hand does next, make sure you're subscribed. While you're down there in the comments and the chat, you got to let me know what your 100 time is. Let's see what we can do. So I'm going to clear the screen and we're going to play and we're going to see what that pull does. So if you notice, he's basically pulling his hand down. And what happens is, I'm going to have to go back just a little bit and replay that. When you pull down right there, you're basically pushing down, and what's going to happen? Your head's going to come up, because what we're looking to do at this point is the early vertical forearm. This is the way that your hand needs to be positioned to grab the most water. Remember, two ways to get faster: decrease drag, increase propulsion. And when we compare Nick's stroke to mine, when we put them one on top of the other, it's going to be really obvious what this looks like. But first, we need to break it down one at a time. And we're going to have a Q&A session, just an FYI. So if you have some questions, let me know in the chat. I'll answer some of those common ones that we've received. And let's go ahead and clear the screen, play this from another angle. I believe we have one more angle to really show what that pull looks like when you push down, how it's going to lift your upper body position. You're not pulling as much, and then your legs are going to be sinking. And if we want to swim faster, we need to really clean those things up through drills, focus, and of course technique work continuously. So here's a side view. Now this was taken a few months ago. Now Nick's actually gotten a lot faster, but there's still some room for improvement. So this is probably the most severe case of the head position that we can improve. Now if we draw a line intersecting the middle of his head, that's not a good line. Let's try that again. There we go. Actually, that's still bad. What am I doing? There we go. That's still not too great, but we'll work with it. So we want to keep one eye and one ear under the water. So this whole part of his face should really be underneath the surface of the water, because the water line is here. So whatever this angle is, let's call it 42 degrees, right? That is what's going to be reflected on the other side under the water, and his legs are going to be sinking. So it's partly head position and body position. The other half is actually his hand, what he's about to do next. Remember, I alluded to that. When you drop your hand and you push your hand down, you're actually pushing your upper body up, and that's going to cause your legs to sink more, and you're not pulling. Now, I know I'm being really critical on Nick's stroke. He's a great team sport on this, and he's learning just like all of us. So we can all benefit from seeing the points of improvement. And I'll call out the same things on my stroke where we can improve. So I'm going to clear the screen. We're going to hit the play button, and watch how his hand is really not grabbing the water immediately. It takes time to get into that early vertical forearm. So you can see it right here. When I pause, this is me below, and I'm swimming at about a 1:15 pace, and Nick is swimming at about a 2-minute pace right here per 100 meters, right? We're going 100-meter pace. So for me, this is a cruise. For Nick, this is also a cruise. Now, one thing immediately that you can notice the difference between these two is how far we are from the surface of the water. This is the surface of the water on Nick, and this distance right here might be half a meter or a quarter of a meter, right? It's about a foot for all of us yards folks. And then you look at my body position, and I'm much higher in the water, right? The distance between my butt basically and the surface of the water, it's basically on top of the water. And the faster you can go and the more comfortable you can get, almost feel like you're swimming downhill. That's what we're really looking for. If you want to swim fast, you want to feel like you're swimming downhill, and that's one of the primary differences at these different speeds. Now, I do have some footage of swimming even faster, and you can see every level of speed, you basically start to be higher and higher in the water. It's partially because of the head position, partially because of just your posture in the water, but a lot of it, and this is kind of the secret that a lot of people don't talk about, it's actually how you pull the water. Because if you just drop your hand down, you're actually pushing and putting more resistance to get your upper body up, and you don't want that. So instead, it's leveraging your hand to get into that early vertical forearm, and that's the key. So let's clear the screen, continue watching this footage, and I think to see this, we're gonna actually, let's see if I have another clip on it. If not, we'll go back and watch it again. So let's go back and watch it again. Right here from the beginning, boom. So right here, you can see this is the early vertical forearm. Nick's sort of got an early vertical forearm, and kind of in reverse. So we want an EVF, and that stands for early vertical forearm. What you're trying to do is you're trying to pull as much water as possible. And you can really see it in the way that my elbow is bent. You can see that bent elbow. And to be frank, I actually don't have the best early vertical forearm. And that's the difference between someone who goes a 1:15 easy or cruise, which is what I go, and someone who goes a 1:05 at their cruise speed. That's really those minor differences, but you can see a pretty big difference between a 2-minute pace right here and the 1:15, right? That's a pretty big difference. There's a lot of red on the screen. Let's clear that. Now let's watch this and really pay attention right here to the pulls. Actually, just focus on mine. So look at Nick. He's got the straight arm. He hits the early vertical forearm basically when his arm is here, and the earlier you can get into that, the better. So watch my pull right here, and then we'll play it through. And there we go. Now we're going to have a Q&A section, but first I want to thank today's video sponsor, and that is Underwater Audio. And this is a great way to get faster by just finding a beat and going with the flow. And so Underwater Audio makes these underwater music players. There you see me right there. And you can listen to your favorite music, podcasts, audiobooks, all while you swim. And I want to thank them for hooking me up with a Dolphin. That's what you see here in this video. And it's a touch screen music player, and that's compatible with Spotify, Pandora, Audible, and all sorts of other apps. And you can just load custom playlists, and you can play while you swim. You can jam out to a beat, and you don't need an internet connection, which is awesome. So you can create the perfect swimming playlist and jam out just like I'm doing right there. The Dolphin clips to your goggles straps, and it comes with a waterproof swim bud headphones, and they stay in place so you can swim fast and not really worry about anything falling off. So that's pretty awesome. You can listen to your favorite podcast, jam out to your favorite beat, and it's awesome. So head over to the link in the description and use the code MySwimPro for 10% off. And I want to thank Underwater Audio for sponsoring this video. Thanks again, and we'll just go ahead and jam out to the tunes. So now at this point, I want to do the Q&A. So let's pull up some questions that we have from you guys. There's me meditating down below. Yeah, use the code MySwimPro 10 for 10% off. Thanks again, Underwater Audio. Okay, let me pull up some questions here. And there's me swimming at about a 1:20 pace. All right, here's a question. How do I maintain a 1:30 pace for more than 500 meters? Ooh, this is a good one. So regardless of what your pace is, let's say you swim a 1:40 or a 1:20 or 2-minute or 3-minute, whatever. If you can swim for 500 meters, that's great. If you remember what I said at the beginning of the video, where for a shorter distance, you can actually swim faster. So the key to swimming faster than the 1:30 pace or maintaining that for more than 500 meters is actually to have variation. So this is assuming we're working on technique, right? You do your drills, you're focusing on distance per stroke. But from a training perspective, you actually need to swim much faster than a 1:30 pace in order to hold a 130 pace comfortably. So instead of focusing on 500 meters, we need to break it down. We need to do like 5 100s, 450s, and we need to swim at a pace much, much faster than 130. I'm talking 120 pace, 110 pace. If you can hold 130 pace in meters for 500 meters straight, you can probably go under 35 seconds in a very hard effort. And if you can do that, you need to train your body and get that muscle activation so that way you can hold that all the way through. And that's the key. So you basically need to train shorter and faster. And then when you do extend your distance, you might be swimming at a 135 pace for 600 or 700 meters. But if you break it apart and you train your body how to swim faster for these shorter durations, it's actually going to be easier to maintain a 130 pace because that's relatively slower than what you're actually used to doing. So that's a great question and something you guys definitely want to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and pull up another question here. I got another question. This one people submitted. My legs sink after a few strokes, even if I keep my head down. How can I improve this? Yeah, legs sinking, that's the problem. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the screen. So right now, you see my streamline off the wall, right? This is a solid streamline. You can actually see I have a little bit of an arch, like a smiley face. It's not that severe, but definitely room to improve. So what you wanna do is you actually wanna train your body to swim in this position because this is the easiest thing to do if you're a beginner, right? You push off the wall and streamline and focus on pushing off the wall in a nice tight streamline. And at this point, your legs shouldn't be sinking because you have all of this momentum from pushing off the wall. So you push off the wall, you carry your speed, your legs are right at the surface, and you, of course, your eyes are looking down. Now, I think probably because I'm going to start dolphin kick, it looks like I am in a dolphin pattern. Yeah, there's the dolphin kick. But then once you carry that speed off the wall, and you don't have to do dolphin kick when you get started. You can start out with a flutter kick. That's actually probably better if you're a beginner to just start with your flutter kick. And then you focus on keeping your legs up. So how do you keep your legs up? Here's the question. How do you keep your legs from sinking even if you're keeping your head down? So you're keeping your head down. And actually you have to press with your chest down. You want to feel like you're swimming downhill. I know that's a difficult concept to feel like you're swimming downhill. That's part of it. The other part of it is what you do with your hand. So if I were to just drop my arm and pull like this, absolutely my upper body is going to go up and my legs are going to go down. That's the only way that's going to happen. So about 10 minutes ago in this video, I was showing how it's really like if you take that pull and you push down, you're going to lift your chest up and your legs are going to sink. So if you can really focus on being more patient, let me make sure my hand is on the screen. You're more patient as you drop your fingertips to the bottom. This motion is going to allow your upper body and the rest of your body to stay on the surface. But instead, if you pull down like this, you're just going to lift your head up and your legs are going to sink, and there's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't matter how proper your body position is, your core stability. None of that matters. If you push yourself up, your upper body is going to go up and your legs are going to sink. So let's go ahead and clear this. Let's go ahead and just play this, and you can see what the pull looks like. And there it is. So that is the early vertical forearm, the initial part of the EVF. Let's watch it again, and there it is. And like I said, I don't even have the best early vertical forearm, but that's just an example, and I'm swimming at about I believe this is a 120 pace per 100 meters, 120 pace. That's a good question. So really, it's not just your head and body position. Oh, and real quick, pro tip on this specific question. If you use a pull buoy, you can actually teach your body what it feels like. Now, I don't want you to become dependent on a pull buoy, but it can teach your body what it's supposed to feel like to have your legs at the surface. Because right now what I'm showing, where like basically half my body is above the water, this is not natural for a lot of, especially beginner swimmers. When you swim under a 120 pace roughly, so under 120 pace, you pretty much have to have a certain body position or else you can't move that fast. It's very difficult to move under 130 pace or 120 pace per 100 and have your legs like way down here dragging. And so because of that, you might not ever experience what it feels like. Fins can do the same thing because you're going to get added propulsion, but if you really want to isolate and focus on that pull and that early vertical forearm, I definitely recommend a pull buoy. They even have for the men, they have a jammer that actually has the pull buoy built into it. Very common in the triathlon world. So if you want to check those out. Those are actually a good, and it's not a crutch. Those are really good, and I actually highly recommend them. By the way, if you're wondering where these questions are, so MySwimPro and myself, we do have Instagram accounts, and we often ask questions in our stories. So make sure you're following me on Instagram, follow MySwimPro on Instagram, all of the social media, right? That way we can stay plugged in and behind the scenes of what's going on when we do these lives, and you can see all that. So let's go ahead and pull up the next question. And this next question is, which test set in the app will help me improve my average swimming pace? So that's a good question. Like I mentioned in the earlier question about how do you swim faster than a 130 pace over 500? I mean, the reality is you need to train at different speeds. And to this question right here, you need to test yourself on some frequency. So whether that's every month or every quarter or every 2 weeks or every week, more than every week is a little bit much. The MySwimPro app will automatically recommend when you should do that. So you don't really have to think about it too much. But it's important to keep in mind that when you're doing a test set, you want to keep a lot of variables in control. So the warm-up should be the same, the preset should be the same, and the actual set you do should be the same. Now, one of the test sets that I recommend is the Endurance Challenge. It's where you go 5 100s freestyle on an interval, and that interval is really dependent on your seed time, and your seed time in the MySwimPro app is based on your 100 freestyle time. So I'll give you an example. If you've been watching the MySwimPro channel and my channel, I've been doing a behind the scenes where I've been swimming the 5 100s multiple times over a fast, and I got down to a 110 per 100. So the goal for me was to swim under, I believe, a 105 on every 100. Now, it wouldn't make sense to do this test set, and instead of 5 100s, I do 3, right? That's a different kind of set. So you have to repeat the same set over and over, and that's how you can see your progress. So to more directly answer this question, which test set in the app will help you improve your average swimming pace? Definitely the Endurance Challenge, because you're going to do 5 100s. A sneak peek for you guys, we have another Endurance Challenge coming up, which is 10 100s, which is a little bit more expert level. If you can handle 10 100s on a tough threshold interval, good for you. But to start, 5 100s is a great way to test your aerobic capacity. Do that frequently. The app will actually recommend it. I've done these workouts on my Apple Watch. It tells you what to do. It's like a personal coach right there on your wrist. It's absolutely amazing. Life-changing experience if you haven't experienced that. And yeah, to do 5 100s is really, really clutch, because you're basically going to test yourself on something that has a little bit of speed, because you're only doing 100. And you're going to have to do some capacity, because if you're doing these on the 2 minute, that's 10 minutes of aerobic work. Now, the other test that we have is the Need for Speed, which is basically 1/100 max speed. And if you remember earlier, about 15 minutes ago, I was talking about if you want to swim faster, you got to train faster, and you have to push yourself beyond your average pace. So if you want to increase your average swim pace, you need to do something like a 1/100, and that's the Need for Speed test set. And that's how you're going to really push yourself and get to that next level. So let me know what questions you guys have down below in the comments. We don't have enough time to get into all of it. And also, I want to hear what you guys go in a 100-meter freestyle. Let's see how we stack up against myself, Nick. You know, the fastest swimmers in the world. The world record on the men's side is a 46.9 or 0.8, I'm sorry, it's a 46.8, which is nuts, in the 50 or 100 meter freestyle 50-meter pool. But if you go a 120, a 140, a 220, that's great, because you have an opportunity to improve, and hopefully this video allowed you to do that. So wish you guys the very best. I'll catch you at the next video, and happy swimming.